Hey everyone, welcome back to I'd Like to Unsubscribe. And today we're going to talk about something, well, half the population will go through, and the other half, well, they should probably understand it if they want to survive while they live with us. Because there's this thing that happens to women, right? It's slow and it's silent, and to our bodies all of a sudden change the rules midlife. Nobody gives us a playbook on it. And guess what? This is not a doom and gloom episode. It's a let's finally talk about what's really happening with our body conversation, with hormones, emotions, relationships, and why our give a damn gets broken at one point. If you've ever thought, is it just me, or did someone change the settings on my entire body and its thermostat? Well, this one is for you.
What if the life you planned vanished overnight? For Marissa and Britt, it was painful chronic conditions without cures. We lost everything: our health, independence, careers, and even our sense of self. But in the wreckage, we found something unexpected: a chance to rebuild. Welcome to I'd Like to Unsubscribe, the podcast for anyone feeling stuck, lost, traumatized, or just straight up over it. This isn't about surviving illness or trauma. It's about ditching the toxic beliefs holding you back and even daring to dream again. We're bringing real talk, hard-earned wisdom, lots of sarcasm, and practical tools to help you rise. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll remember, even in the darkest moments, hope is still alive. Are you experiencing symptoms of lupus or feeling alone on this journey? The Lupus Foundation of New England is here to help you. They're dedicated to supporting those living with lupus, offering education, resources, and a community to help you navigate the journey. From learning about symptoms and testing to upcoming events and research, the Lupus Foundation of New England has you covered. Visit lupusne.org and connect with others who truly understand. You don't have to do this alone. Visit lupusne.org, that's lupusne.org today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to I'd Like to Unsubscribe, and it's the podcast where we're going to keep it real today, and we're going to talk about real life and real bodies and real emotions and all of the things that we wish someone had explained sooner in terms of perimenopause and menopause.
Preach, girl, because today we are diving into one of the biggest transitions women go through that nobody ever prepares us for: perimenopause and menopause. Mwah. Love it. It's been awesome.
And all that comes with that, right? We're talking about, my mom used to say, our own private summer, full of mood swings and night sweats and wet sheets and not the good kind, and memory slips, and the moments where you look at your partner and think, I could either cry, laugh, or just burn this house down right now. I don't know which one.
Oh, yes. This is for the woman who suddenly just can't sleep, snaps at her husband for breathing too loud, and feels her confidence disappearing for just no clear reason. So, before you file for divorce or quit your job or decide you've lost your damn mind, maybe just check your hormone levels. Because for a lot of us, this season hits like an emotional hurricane, and most of us had no idea it was even coming.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is the conversation we all wish someone had had with us, right? Not that awkward, like seventh grade health class version with like cartoon ovaries. Like, I don't even think menopause was ever mentioned, like even in my high school science class. But the real thing that adults like need explained about what is happening and why you feel off, and also like what you should be looking for.
Yes. We are going to unpack today what hormones actually do in your body. Like, not just the words, but what do they do, and what perimenopause feels like, how it affects your mental health and relationships, and how you can actually support yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually through the whole process. You talked about that seventh grade, like ovary drawing, but I went to Christian school, so they didn't even give us the cartoon uterus, okay? I got a really awkward conversation with my mom about the birds and the bees, and it was scarring, and there were finger puppets. So, yeah, please, no. So,
When I started perimenopause actually in my early 30s. So before, it's like the normal time. And I had no clue what that even meant when she was like, "You're in perimenopause." And I was like, "Cool." Like, okay. Like I had no clue why it mattered, like nothing. So we want you, because we want to keep it real. We want to okay, you guys got to understand it. We want you to have this science lesson for your day, right? The hormone headliners. What are the real players behind absolutely everything that you're feeling? Because I know
Mm.
you've heard estrogen and progesterone before, but do we know why they matter? So here's a breakdown. Estrogen comes in a couple forms, but the main one before menopause is estradiol. So that's an E2 if you ever see it abbreviated. It's the strongest and most active form of estrogen. It supports your mood and your temperature control and your sleep and your libido, your collagen, your brain, your bones, the heart, like some really important things here. Like this is really big keys in here. Estradiol helps your body make serotonin and GABA. And GABA is your calming neurotransmitter. All the chill you need, it's coming from there. So when estradiol is fluctuating, anxiety and low mood can spike. Like this
Mm.
is what's happening with it. Then after you have menopause, you have estrone, which is an E1, and that becomes the most dominant form of estrogen. It's a weaker form of estrogen, mostly made in the fat tissue and in your adrenal glands. So that shift from the E2 to the E1, right? The better to the weaker is one of the reasons why you are feeling off, even if your body technically still has estrogen. That balance and potency, they're different. They're not the same anymore.
Yeah, so in addition to estrogen, let's look at progesterone because it's another big player, right?
Mhm.
Think of it as your natural calm because progesterone helps you sleep, it helps stabilizes your mood, and it also helps balance estrogen. So when progesterone drops early in perimenopause, you sort of lose that natural buffer. So maybe your nervous system begins to feel a little bit more reactive, right?
Yeah.
And then we want to look at testosterone and also some other androgens. And yes, women make these too. And, testosterone and hormone therapy have finally had their moment recently in the news, right? A big
Woohoo.
win for women. Woohoo. They're crucial. They're crucial for our energy and for the tone of our muscles, which, you know, I don't, I see a difference because I'm about
Yeah.
to hit my 50s. Like your libido, motivation,
Yeah.
when testosterone declines, like you might just feel totally flat, right? Or like you just lost your drive and you're just like, is this burnout or is this like a chemical?
Yeah, absolutely. Then we have ushering in your FSH, which is your follicle stimulating hormone. So this rises as your ovarian reserves, so your egg count and their function starts to decline. Okay, so this goes higher, egg count goes lower. The
Mm.
brain increases FSH in an attempt to stimulate the ovaries to make more estrogen. Okay, so when labs show consistently higher levels of FSH, it's a sign to look for that says, I think my body is starting to move into or starting to enter into perimenopause. So it's like your first kind of eye opener. You also have LH, which is your luteinizing hormone. It works alongside FSH, but has a different job. Okay. So LH triggers ovulation, which
Mm.
is the release of an egg, and it stimulates the production of progesterone afterwards. Okay. So when your cycle becomes irregular, LH is surging and can become erratic, or ovulation might just not happen at all. Without regular ovulation, progesterone drops. So do you see that progesterone, which helps you calm, we don't regularly ovulate, progesterone drops,
Mm.
leaving now your estrogen completely unbalanced. So you can have heavier periods or breast tenderness or bloating or mood change.
And another one, and I know that you've heard of it, DHEA. We hear about
Mhm.
this one especially a lot lately. And this is a foundational hormone. It's made by the good old adrenal glands. God
Yep.
bless those things.
Yep.
It's a precursor to both your estrogen and your testosterone levels in your body. And if your stress is really high and your adrenals have taken a beating and are
Mhm.
taxed, guess what? Your DHEA is going to drop
Yep.
and you might feel more fatigued than normal. You might have a lot of brain fog and low libido. So, when you're supporting your adrenal health, right, this supports your DHEA production. Very important because that
Mhm.
is what is stabilizing all of your other hormones.
Yeah.
And something else that we wanted to talk about in this conversation is your thyroid hormones. And although these technically aren't just female hormones, obviously, because the symptoms overlap so much, your thyroid function should always be checked.
Yes.
Because low thyroid can mimic so many of the symptoms of the menopause era, whether it's fatigue or weight loss or dry skin or even losing your hair and just having just a low mood.
Yeah.
Another one that we hear a lot about is our cortisol, right? This is our stress hormone, and chronic stress makes every symptom in your body louder.
Mm-hmm.
And the adrenals take on extra work when ovarian production slows down. So if you have unmanaged stress, it's making all of these transitions even more rough.
Whew. Okay, we made it. We did it. Those are the main players here that you need to understand their functioning. Because when you start to hear all these things thrown around and you don't know why they are there in the first place, like, knowledge is power. So here's your knowledge, right? So we have met the main hormone players. Now we got to talk about how they actually work together, okay? There is a hierarchy on these bad boys. In order for your body to actually regulate its own hormones, it matters which ones you support first. So think about it like you're building a house. You don't start with the paint, okay? You have to start with the foundation. I'm not all like Joanna Gaines and being like, I'll go with Forever Forest Green. There is no foundation. You're not going to be able to paint, right? Hormones are the same. Yeah, just a little much. Hormones are the same. The foundation is your adrenal and your thyroid health.
And we made, if no one ever tells us this, would you have ever thought the foundation of your hormones are those? Is that where your brain would have naturally went? No.
Okay. Not at all.
So let's look at this as a pyramid, right? At the bottom of it is cortisol, your stress hormone.
Yep.
So if you're under a lot of stress, your HPA axis takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the system that releases cortisol and adrenaline because it wants to help you and your body survive, right? Any threat or overload.
Correct.
So your reproductive system runs on a very different line of communication, which a very long word here. Hopefully I'll pronounce it right. Your hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This controls estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone production. So what does all this mean actually in your body? If your cortisol, you're under constant stress, your cortisol stays elevated for a really long time. It sends a chemical message to the rest of your body that says, we need to survive first and foremost. We can worry about reproduction later. Yeah. And that shift changes then how your body prioritizes its energy and its hormone production.
Yeah.
So chronic stress suppresses it's called GnRH, okay, gonadotropin releasing hormones from your hypothalamus. And this lowers then your FSH and your LH. But these are your hormones that tell your ovaries to make estrogen. Mm-hmm. So then you're going to get disrupted ovulation. So maybe your estrogen levels are then fluctuating wildly. And you might feel this as like you're really up and energetic one week and you completely crash and burn the next. And you're like, what just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like your body is saying, you're drowning. You don't need a baby. It's right. Survival is always first to the body. It's always trying to help us survive. Right. Okay. Like this is not what we need right now. So if your stress system is overworked, trying to fix your estrogen without calming down cortisol first, it ain't going to work, babe. So, and I know there's been a lot of buzz lately about women taking testosterone. I have a few friends that felt like it literally brought them back to life. And that is absolutely amazing. Chronic cortisol blunts the pituitary signal, which is the LH, that drives testosterone production in the ovaries. It also raises SHBG, which is your sex hormone binding globulin, okay? And this is produced in the liver. So this is binding up free testosterone, which is the usable form of testosterone, leaving you then with less available for energy or your motivation or your libido. So if your SHBG, which I had super high amounts of it for a really long time, and I have asked my providers, like straight up OBGYNs, like, why is this so high? They've like shoulder shrugged me, like, I don't know, this is why it matters. If your SHBG is high, then that means you are not getting full access to your hormones. They are there, but they're locked behind a door. So ergo, long-term stress goes to lower total and free testosterone, which then goes to lower drive, slower recovery, muscle loss, and just like a flat mood. Okay. So that's why step one in balancing your hormones is supporting the adrenals with things like rest, blood sugar stability, minerals, vitamin C, hydration, and hear me well, boundaries.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. We have so many hormones coursing through our bodies, and it is such an awkward conversation with doctors. Like, I literally had mine done not too long ago, and it was, well, don't really pay attention to that. They change from day to day, so it doesn't really mean anything. And I'm like,
Yep.
then why do we even have these tests?
Why do we
Right?
do it? Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I think it is going back down to the basics and the root, right? And it is balancing. So once you have your cortisol balanced, you need to take also a look at your thyroid,
Yeah.
because that sets the pace for your metabolism, your energy, and your mood. And if your thyroid is stressed out or sluggish, it's going to throw everything else off, including how your body uses estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
Yeah. Because only after cortisol and thyroid hormones are steady does it really make sense to focus on your sex hormones. And again, Marissa and I are not doctors, okay? We have just lived in sick bodies for a very long time. And we have guinea pigged ourselves and researched and trying to figure this stuff out. So, not doctors. Talk to your doctors about things. Do your own research. I don't like that phrase, but really, like you have to, you have to be your own advocate. So, these are just some of the things that we have learned over time that have really helped us. So, if your thyroid is sluggish or stressed, it throws everything else off. So, again, when you've finally figured out your cortisol and your thyroid, then start to look at your sex hormones, right? Your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, and your DHEA. Because if the bottom of the pyramid is unstable, whatever you build on top of it will not stay balanced. It won't. It's not going to have a foundation that it needs.
Yeah, and this is why so many women, they start supplements or creams or even HRT, and maybe, after a short period of time, it's like, well, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not that it didn't work so much as in the foundation wasn't built and it wasn't ready to actually hold it and allow it to do what it needs to do.
Yeah, exactly. So the right order looks like this, okay? Pyramid, cortisol and stress management, okay? That's why boundaries are a part of it, not just supplements. Calm the body first, get morning cortisol levels tested. Then you go to thyroid optimization. You have to check and make sure your doctors are doing this. Your TSH, your free T3, your free T4, and your TPO, okay? Make sure that's on your test, y'all. Then you go to the sex hormone support. That's your estrogen, your progesterone, testosterone, and DHEA as needed. That is the pyramid.
And, I just want to throw in, if we look at this also from a faith perspective, like all of this makes sense because God designed the order into everything in our lives, including the body, right? The main place. And I think healing happens best when we follow that order instead of just really guessing. And I feel like with hormones, a lot of us have dabbled into it or tried to understand it. And there's just been so much guesswork because it's not something that's clearly discussed, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we don't want you to lose hope here, like we're girlfriends coming alongside you trying to figure it out too. So if you've been working on figuring out your hormones and you're still feeling stuck, don't give up. Like you didn't get it wrong. You just might be starting at the wrong layer. Okay, so go back to the base, support the stress system, and give your body permission to feel safe again. Okay, because that's going to be so important. So, I know that's unlike other episodes. That was so data heavy, y'all. Maybe you just want to put this on a saved, when you're like, I need to go back and understand, when my blood work's off, what these things are. Please do that. This is our gift to you that says, hey, we wanted to know this. So hopefully now you know it with us. So I know that was a lot, but we needed it. So I feel like so many times it just felt like a secret growing up. Like the female body was supposed to be this mystery, even to the female. And I had PMS every month since I was 11. but no one ever bothered to explain why. I was just like, it's totally, it's normal. It's
Mhm.
just normal, right?
Part of being a woman.
Yeah, part of me, there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, oh, well, how encouraging is that? But now that I have a daughter who's about to enter into that, I'm like, I feel like I want to give her more information. And I found out, like I was saying, that I was in perimenopause, I think when I was like 31. And that's pretty young statistically. So
Mhm.
they did this thing called the Dutch hormone test. And again, I'm not associated with them or affiliated. I get no kickback from them, but they do wonderful full panel testing. I highly recommend them. And typically you can get this ordered through like a functional medicine doctor or more like holistic hormone doctor if you're trying to figure out like who can actually get this for you. It's a really super comprehensive view of all your hormones, which also includes cortisol levels. So really recommend it. My progesterone was tanked and my estrogen was super high. So I was having these symptoms of, it's called estrogen dominance, which feels like high anxiety and shakiness, breakouts on my chin and in my back, and these fun little dark stray hairs. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're just like looking in the mirror, you're like, what the hell is that?
But those didn't look
Thank
good
you.
against your blondish red hair.
I know, right?
So
This is
weird.
this is such a sexy episode, right? I hope my husband listens to it. So it's like the fun, dark little stray hairs that you're like plucking out that seem to come from like nowhere. But I had not yet learned how to manage my thyroid levels. Okay. So I just been diagnosed with Hashimoto thyroiditis the year before. And no one tells me, like, hey, by the way, start with balancing your cortisol and your thyroid hormones because then you can't like course correct your female hormones, right?
Right.
No one tells me this. So fast forward 4 years later, I get miraculously pregnant with my son.
Mm.
Now, y'all, I'm in perimenopause at this time. So, and I still have no clue how he ended up here. It's not like I figured something out. So that obviously rewired my entire hormone system. Okay.
Mm.
And since his birth, I had to learn so much about the hormone hierarchy and how you got to start to balance the base first. So I keep an insanely close eye on my thyroid levels and I really support my adrenals. I do vagal tone exercises 3 times a day. We've talked about them before, but every like 3 times a day, I massage my neck like a weirdo and it's fine. I add minerals to my water every morning. I supplement with vitamin C and I eat really good high fat. So like your olive oils and your, coconuts and MCTs. And I eat very little sugar, not because I hate myself, but I've got to try to keep my blood sugar levels in check. And sleep is a must. Like I prioritize sleep. There is very few times that I'm willing to give that up for anything. And this has made life mostly manageable. But currently, I have the DHEA and estrogen levels of a 90-year-old. That is super not kidding. It was embarrassing to go over that blood work with my doctor. So, like even when you try your hardest to balance things out, y'all, I have a really stressful life. There's a lot of things that go on. And so, still, even with the supports of trying to get that base, it's keeping things, as much as possible within the, parameters, but it's still really hard. So, I've tried things like bioidentical hormones or DHEA supplements. What I find most helpful to me, and we're going to go into it a little bit below, is doing seed cycling. And that is to help your body produce it at its own levels and what it needs, because I find food is the best medicine for my body. So it's these things that you're going to have to find yourself that work. And we're just here to say, hey, this worked for me and maybe it can work for you.
Yeah. So I want to jump in there. So I started seed cycling a few months ago, Brittany, after you told me about it. Ooh, and it
Proud of
is
you.
absolutely doing something in my body. I love it. So I've been in menopause now for almost 10 years. So I was actually able to start seed cycling on any day of the month, where if you're still getting your period, you need to start it on a very specific day. So do the research on that. But I had noticed some changes specifically with my hair. And that was one of the reasons that I had all my hormones checked and whatnot. So
Mm.
yesterday I saw my hairdresser for the first time in 2 months. And she's running her hands through my hair and she's like, your hair feels so different. It feels strong. It feels soft. It feels
Ooh.
full. What did you change? And I said to her, nothing has changed as far as my supplements, my food, diet, nothing, except I started seed cycling.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But before I go on the wild
Mhm.
seed cycle ride, I want to answer a big question, right? Like, when does perimenopause and menopause start?
Yeah.
because perimenopause is that transition leading up to menopause. And it's sort of it's that first year after your final period, okay? And even your final period, I mean, that could take a while, right? Many women
Yeah.
have a period, then don't for a while. So it's your after your final period. And so it lasts an average of maybe 4 years for most women, though some can experience for longer. And the symptoms typically begin in your late 30s, early 40s. And menopause is officially diagnosed after you've had now 12 straight consecutive months without a period. The average age for that is somewhere around 51, 52.
Mm.
Most women enter that transition somewhere between 45 and 55. However, ladies, let me tell you, I did chemo pills when I was 37, and I literally never got a period again. It
Mhm.
left along with my leg and armpit hair, which that part I do not hate, right? Because I have not
Yeah.
had to shave either of those areas in over a decade. So, but it also left me with something unplanned and a sudden reality that I couldn't have kids at a
Mm.
time. We talked about this in the infertility episode, at a time that I was finally physically in a place where I started looking into, genetic tests and whatnot to have children. So yeah, I do these pills for these chemo pills for a lupus vasculitis flare that I had at 37. It was
Mm.
just gone. I didn't really get the horrific symptoms that a lot of people get with menopause. I just had maybe 2 months or so of hot flashes. It came at a time where it was literally about 5 degrees in Rochester. So I would go
Mm.
stand outside in a tank top. It would like turn purple. I'd stand outside for 2 minutes and I was fine. But I also naturally was able to combat some of those hot flashes by, for me, drinking soy milk every day, right?
Mm.
Which sort of tricks your body into thinking there's estrogen there.
Yeah.
And for me, it worked like a charm. But
Yeah.
I just want to, say that these ages are approximations. And for those of us that are chronically ill, medicine and different procedures and different treatments we have, they can change this.
Yeah. Absolutely. So don't think just because you're outside of the age range, like it couldn't be it. If you're a female
Right.
who's had her period, maybe consider it, because chronic illness changes everything, and that includes our cycles. I know, like we're saying, it's not just this like switch that flips. It's really like this slow fade. Things are just get like weird, and we're kind of used to weird, in the chronic illness community. So, this can be something that kind of escapes our notice. Cycles get irregular. You might skip one, then you have like two close together, or you might feel like your personality is kind of changing week to week, but so is like your husband. So there's a lot of ways that we say, oh, it's this now, and we can miss it.
Well, and then, you want to look at the body changes too, which again, you might already experience some of these depending what your
Yeah.
diagnosis is. But typically things like hot flashes, night sweats, joint aches. Hello. I think everyone with chronic illness has that.
Yep.
Weight redistribution, skin
Mhm.
dryness. That was a really big one for me. Hair texture changes also. And then we can look at, dryness, not just on the skin, but obviously in more private areas,
Mhm.
or even just pain, like overall pain.
Yeah. And then we have the brain symptoms, which mimic brain fog, the forgetfulness, the short fuse, the anxious spirals. It's all real. So that is your estrogen talking to your neurotransmitters again.
Yeah. So if you start like seeing pattern changes plus symptoms, right? I think that should be this red flag signaling to you
Yeah.
that maybe something. And it's not that a lab work on your just a regular Tuesday is going to tell you the entire story,
Hmm.
because again, hormones do fluctuate wildly in blood work, literally from day to day, but your experience matters just as much as your lab work matters. And I think that's, why Brittany and I always drive home just that encouragement of keeping notes,
Hmm.
because you can't remember these every day. I don't remember how much pain I had last week. If you see some of these changes, jot it down somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Use like an app like Folia. They're going to really be able to help you start seeing the patterns that maybe you can't see, but as you watch it charted out, you'll be like, oh, I see what's happening now.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so strange. In the last 3 months, I really haven't had my period, but I've had more pain and my hair is, getting thinner and some whatever it is. Like, but again, there's apps like that for a reason. Folia is incredible. It's a free app. It's, one of our amazing sponsors, but it's also something that you can directly share with your doctor. So we
Yeah,
just feel like it's one of the most helpful on the market.
absolutely.
So speaking of sponsors, we're going to actually take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk more just about how does this affect your relationships, right? Because that's a big issue. More of the mental health symptoms, and also some ways that we can combat all of this. So come back after the break, and we'll talk to you soon.
Struggling to figure out what's going on with your health? Try Folia, the health app that lets you capture everything you care about so you can get to the bottom of it. Folia helps you spot patterns while building your source of truth. Download Folia Health free in the App Store or on Google Play with invite code LupusCheck. That's Folia Health, the app making personalized healthcare a reality.
Are you experiencing symptoms of lupus or feeling alone on this journey? The Lupus Foundation of New England is here to help you. They're dedicated to supporting those living with lupus, offering education, resources, and a community to help you navigate the journey. From learning about symptoms and testing to upcoming events and research, the Lupus Foundation of New England has you covered. Visit lupusne.org and connect with others who truly understand. You don't have to do this alone. Visit lupusne.org. That's lupusne.org today.
Hey everyone, we're back. And so we just want to dive right in let's talk about something that no one warns you about in the terms of perimenopause and menopause. How it's going to affect your relationship. And it is the elephant in the room, right?
Yes.
There's so much data on this. Bowling Green State University shows that actually divorce rates have fallen in younger couples, but they have risen in people over 45. That's also the same window as menopause is beginning for many women. Is this a coincidence?
It's so weird. Now, it is not necessarily proof that menopause causes divorce, okay? That is not something you can complain on, or put down on your divorce papers, but it's a pattern that says this is a pretty high pressure season. We're going through physical change, sleep loss, mood swings, identity shifts, and all of this will strain a relationship, hands down. And most of us, I mean, we talk about this. It's like the A+ personality, the performers. We're used to playing the game of a good daughter and good mom and good wife and good boss or good worker. And now y'all are give a damn is broken.
Yep.
And this is not all bad, okay? Because it can be a really freeing time in your life, but it will definitely shake things up.
Absolutely. And, mental health plays a huge part. There are a lot of studies that show that perimenopausal women are significantly more likely to experience symptoms of depression. It doesn't mean that everyone will, but it is common enough that there should be screening, and support for this should be automatic. And yet I feel like this is a topic that still isn't discussed enough in the medical community. Not one doctor ever asked me if I felt that way during that time in my life. And trust me, I see a lot of doctors for a variety of reasons for lupus. And while there was a puzzled or surprised look on some of their faces that I had gone into menopause at my late 30s, no one ever asked me if maybe it was affecting my life.
Weird.
That's strange.
Because it is a full body experience, and it's mind-boggling to me, because when you are in this age range and you start to feel things are changing and your mood is out of whack, all of a sudden they're just like, well, just go see a psychiatrist. That's what I heard. Just go see a psychiatrist, and try psychotropic medications. And again, we are not bashing them, or try mood supplements. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, do what you need to help you in a season. And yes, try medications if they're going to help you. Yes, try supplements, but don't look at it as the whole story, right? You got to look deeper than what they're just saying here.
Yeah. I mean, because Britt and I always like to look at the holistic view of everything. And of course, like, medications are used at certain times, right? But they can also be a Band-Aid, let's just admit it, when there are other deeper issues going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I want to mention there are a lot of surveys, especially out of the United Kingdom, where women describe menopause as this point in their life that their relationships literally start to unravel. These aren't medical statistics here, okay? We're talking about human stories. And I think they remind us to just listen more and to
Mm.
not judge so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So girls, like if you're fantasizing about running away to a yurt alone, again, maybe just first check sleep, your stress, and support before you start packing your bags.
Yeah. Because those mental and physical shifts that occur, whether it's in peri or menopause, like they're so challenging, even for women that are healthy.
Yeah.
So when it occurs to someone that's chronically ill, who is already navigating wild symptoms, it can definitely make you feel like you are falling off of that ledge, right?
Yeah.
I get that run and hide feeling. I also feel like a lot of us who do voice these these feelings or our physical symptoms, like often have them lumped into our already solidified diagnosis. For me, it was the lupus. Not that maybe they actually have something to do with one of the greatest hormonal changes in our lifetime. Like, I don't know if a lot of you
Mhm.
experience that, but it's like I could literally have a paper cut on my pinky toe, and immediately oh, it's because of the lupus.
It's got to be the lupus. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I think because we aren't having the amount of conversations about this major life shift that we
Yeah.
should be having, a lot of women out there are suffering and they feel lost and they are unsure of what step to take next. It is so unfair.
Yeah.
It's such unnecessary suffering.
It is. Yeah. It because we're so used to suffering. I mean, that's why I literally spent an entire decade getting my first diagnosis of Hashimoto's and then a decade of feeling the most outrageous symptoms and every single time being told it's your thyroid. When in fact, I have multi-system autoimmunity that affects every part of my body. But it's so easy, right? It just must be this. When we don't understand, we just want to throw it to it must be your autoimmune. So don't let people get away with that, y'all, is what we're saying. Because you deserve a full comprehensive look into your life and full comprehensive care and finding people that actually will listen to you and want to treat your whole person. And that's why Marissa and I are such fans of functional medicine. Because we've got to find the right solutions for these things. And sometimes that's medicine, but sometimes that's other things. So we want to talk solutions too, because it's not just like, hi, you have hormones and it's going to suck. Like we don't want to leave you there. There is good news. It doesn't have to be this mystery anymore. And there's also help that is out there. You know your body best, so you have to trust it. And I know that can be really challenging because I think we've been gaslit so much and we second guess ourselves so much. Don't do that because it's such a disservice to you. You know how your body works and you know what will be best for it. I know hormones don't work really well for me. So if I have to take hormones, it's the smallest dose for the shortest period of time because I know that my body overresponds. So listen to your body. Like there's going to be so much out there if you do. So trust your body. Talk to your doctor about your specific sensitivities and your preferences. So first thing we want to talk about is hormone therapy or HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I know for some of you, that's like, oh, because we're listening to the old stuff. This it can raise a red flag. But recently, we want you to know the FDA removed the black box warning for many menopause hormone therapies, so your estrogen and progestins. That's the blanket highest level warning is now being phased out to support individualized risk benefit discussions, right? Says this can really be helpful to a lot of people, especially for women near the onset of menopause. So it has been studied as the most effective treatment for hot flashes and night sweats and dryness down there, and it can help prevent bone loss. Your doctor will tailor the dose and the type and the route. So there's patches or gels or pills based on your risk and goals, So talk to your doctor. Like, don't just go for the one thing. Go in with some information. I have used bioidentical hormone therapy in the past. I like bioidentical HRT because it uses plant-based hormones that are chemically identical to the ones that your body naturally produces. For me, that's just a better option. So it allows for more of a personalized dosing. And for me, definitely potential fewer side effects when it's just monitored. And I stayed in really close connection to my doctor when I was taking it. I find that local compounding pharmacies are able to make these for you. So if you find one of those near you, it's great. But I will give a warning on this. It can be really pricey. For me, it was $1 a pill.
Well, you mentioned side effects and whatnot, and you and I are very sensitive. Also, you have to consider your weight, your sensitivity or whatnot. But hormones, when you start introducing them to the body, like there can be some intense reaction or side effect there.
Absolutely.
So it's something that
Yep.
scares me a little bit, and I just want to bring this in really quick, is there's a million commercials on TV right now about basically just calling a number, going on a website and getting some hormone, good old hormone replacement, right?
Yeah.
Great. I love that we have access to these things now. I didn't have this 20 years ago. I didn't have it even when I was 37, something like that. But you also really need to have that conversation with a doctor or functional medicine doctor that is so keenly aware on your symptoms and your
Yeah.
diagnosis. Because let me tell you, I have the type of lupus where I've had blood clots, I've had vasculature issues, the antiphospholipid. It is extremely dangerous for me to start certain types of birth control or hormone replacement
hmm
because of that history. So, this isn't like you're just going to your local pharmacy and like grabbing a Tylenol. Like,
Right.
this is something that needs to have, it deserves research and a serious conversation.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, if you're a little bit more crunchy like Britt and me, you might be interested in more of that natural side. And here are some of our tried and true options that we have used ourselves. Again, these are our stories. They may not work for you the same way. So again, use your wisdom, talk to your provider. One of these is maca, not matcha, not your green stuff.
hmm
This can act like a hormone adaptogen. And if you are very sensitive to supplements, this could be a really gentle place to start. You
hmm
can start at a very low amount. It could potentially help you balance out hormones, do some research on it. Very easy to add it to hot teas or smoothies. It kind of tastes like cacao, right? Which is one of my favorites. Chaseberry, well, this is also very well researched for PMS, PMDD, and some smaller studies show that there could be benefits for some perimenopausal symptoms. Again, this could be a helpful supplement added to balance things like your progesterone. Now, there's an essential oil. This is one of Britt's, ride or dies here,
Yep.
like sage or Progessence Plus. I have not personally tried this myself, but she has. Clary sage or sage extract is known to help reduce hot flashes. We know some women that swear by it. Britt has personally used the Progessence Plus. I know that you
Yeah.
talk to me about this a lot. You say that it has a very calming effect,
hmm
and can also increase your progesterone, right?
Yeah.
It does have a natural form of progesterone in the oil, so be aware of this if you're trying it. Again, this is person to person specific.
Yeah.
And then something we talked about earlier is the seed cycling. So you typically do this in 2-week spurts. So we have, days 1 to 14, which is your follicular phase. And that is when you're going to be adding 1 to 2 tablespoons of certain seeds. And particularly in that phase, for those 2 weeks, it's flax and pumpkin seeds. These are really rich in omega-3s. And they might help support your estrogen metabolism. And then for the other 2 weeks, which is your luteal phase, days 15 to 28, you're going to do 1 to 2 tablespoons of things like sunflower seeds and sesame, which are really rich in zinc, selenium, vitamin E, and these help promote progesterone production. I am a huge, huge fan of seed cycling.
Yeah. And even y'all, I mean, these things, unless you are allergic to the seeds, then don't do it.
Yeah, and you
But
can swap them out because a
yeah.
lot of people use chia seeds and different types of seeds for the ones. I know some people have a sesame seed allergy. There are some
Mhm.
other seeds you can use.
Yeah. Like these are good things that selenium and zinc and vitamin, like, these all really help your thyroid production as well. So it's not there's not a lot of downside to trying it unless you do have an allergy. So it may be a worthwhile, experiment there. And then there's the foundations that you're going to need, like your protein and your fiber and your omega-3s and calcium, vitamin D, movement, and rest. I mean, these are essentials to really, again, remember the pyramid, right? You got to get the pyramid. And right now in this stage in our life, strength training isn't optional anymore.
Yeah.
If you're just like, I just don't like to be in the weights. No, this is not about like muscle gains because you're going to try to go do MMA. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this is essential now to keep your bone and muscle health. Okay. So you got to get some weights. And I just use like soup cans, y'all. Soup cans, while you're doing your exercises. Whatever it is, you really need to do it. I do interval training. I do these videos on YouTube called Monica Fit Videos. Again, not associated with her, but girl, Monica, I love you. Like, thank you so much. They're 10-minute videos. They're awesome. Sleep hygiene and stress reduction are no longer non-negotiables. Like, that's it. Like, you have to engage in this. And because if you don't, cortisol will run your whole show if you let it. Like, it'll be off the charts and you're not going to be able to gain traction on anything. And we say this all the time. And I talked to my doctor about this a couple of days ago. All the best supplements in the world will not hold a candle to the benefit of a supportive friend.
Very true.
Y'all, you need a bestie. You need it. And what if you think like, I'll never be able to find it? Marissa and I found each other online. We really did. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, you need a bestie. Okay. Healing happens faster when you're not alone. Okay. You got to find your circle. The woman who will text you, I get it. This sucks. And I am for you. That is healing gold.
It really is. I'm so thankful for just friends in life, honestly.
Yes.
And, we've talked about this before, therapy. It's going to be a huge gift here. And just like, your weight training, this is really a non-negotiable, I feel like, at this point in our life.
Yeah.
You need a non-biased party that's going to be able to speak into your situation, because sometimes your I don't give a damn gets really loud and you make choices that you really, don't want to. So maybe hand them the divorce papers and let them tell you when and if you should file, right? Because, I know when I'm just irritable, and knowing now a lot of it probably had to do with hormonal shifts. I mean, I was just ready to burn the house down and walk away, right? And the next day I'd be like, everything's great. I don't know what happened. Finding a therapist, guys, especially therapists that are trained in CBT or trauma-informed menopause care, and that exists, it's going to be a lifeline. And find a medical ally who understands women in midlife, right? There's actually something called the Menopause Society, and it has a physician finder for this exact reason. So use the resources that are out there.
Yeah. And outside of all like the medical stuff and the appointments, y'all, you need joy. You need, hear me here. This is not like it would be nice. No, this is, you need not just would like to have, but need that like things that make you feel alive, not just things that are productive. Because I think that's what we want to just go to. I cleaned out my closet, like, well, I mean, yeah, that's something you should probably do, but like need like doing art or karaoke or going to a rage room or gardening or sourdough baking, if that's your thing. Although, sorry, we hate on you so much. Going hiking or dance lessons, walking, yoga, pottery, kickboxing, singing in your kitchen, MMA. I don't know. Like whatever it is for you, that joy literally resets your stress hormones.
100%. Brittany's actually training right now to get onto the Power Slap Instagram page.
Yes.
That's what she's doing with all those Monica Fit videos.
I gotta get that arm ready. It's my soup can arm.
That's right. And guys, if you're married or you're partnered up, right, make a support menu before the resentment and the confusion from both of you start speaking way too loud and messing things up, because you can survive the season with your mental health and also your relationship intact.
Yes.
But you got to have some really honest conversations. And, it might be something as simple as, hey, can you just not touch me when I'm in the middle of a hot flash? Or can you just sit with me while I cry and just kind of process this? Or Bring the fan always to everything that we're doing. Yes.
Yes.
I had one that plugged into the bottom of my phone. It was great. And also something like, "No, I still love you. And don't stop talking to me about how you feel too."
Yeah.
Like we need that. And last, I wish that I had listened to this years ago. Don't make any big decisions after 9 o'clock or when you're really exhausted or really irritable or really
Yes.
hungry. You know,
Yep.
just know.
So much wisdom there. So much. And this is not above what should be expected in a marriage. Like by creating this menu of things, this is not you being extra or too much. This is love in action. Like your partner agreed to be with a female who is going to go through the cycle. Okay. So this is ways that they can show love. And you desire a partner that will lean in and nod away when you're going through a tough season. This is how this all comes. This is for better or for worse. Partnership is teamwork. And you can't win a game if one person doesn't know the rules have changed. So if you're thinking, this stuff kind of resonates with me, maybe I'm going through some things right now. Well, here is a really helpful starting point. Track your symptoms for 2 weeks. Okay. We talked about folia. They can be really helpful for you. Track your symptoms, book an appointment with a hormone competent doctor or functional medicine practitioner. Maybe ask about the Dutch hormone test. That's going to give you a wealth of information. And then just add one joy practice. Find a friend or a group where you can say, "I'm not okay today." And they're like, "Welcome." They get it because you're going to need all this.
Yeah. And if faith is, part of your story, part of your lifestyle, just, pray really honestly. Trust me,
Yeah.
God already knows the thoughts you're afraid to say out loud.
Yeah. Y'all, you're not broken. You're becoming. And that is really, really sacred work.
If anything on this episode has helped you, think about sharing it with a friend who's wondering, what the heck is happening to my body and my mind right now? Because when we share this information with other women, we already know, probably not going to get it from a lot of our medical professionals.
Yeah.
In just a short amount of time that they can see us, you could actually change her entire story.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all, we're not affiliated, but huge fans. Follow Dr. Jolene Brighton on Instagram. She has got incredible hormone education and she is a must follow.
Yeah. And as always, we just want to thank you for being here with us. We know that this is a touchy topic, but we would love to hear more about your journey to hormone health and what you have found in the perimenopause, menopause period, living with a chronic illness. So come check us out on our Instagram page. I'd like to unsubscribe. Follow us, send us a message. We love you all.
Yep. Stay sane. We love you, tribe. Bye.
Bye.